Hey guys, I've got Trevor with me today. I'm going to just interview Trevor for a few minutes and just talk a little bit about kind of his experience of working with myself and the program, because I just think it's so important for other people to hear stories, as to how they've been going and traveling. So welcome, Trevor. Welcome to our little session together here.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Now, Trevor, you've been working with us for about 12 months, around that sort of time frame. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, and so just tell us a little bit about your situation before you jumped on board and learning this sort of stuff with me. Where were you kind of at with, your debt and stuff like that? What was sort of the position of you guys?
We were drowning. We were
Right.
literally drowning in debt, and we couldn't figure out how to reach the shore.
Hmm.
So we literally, every day was a nightmare.
Hmm.
Woke up and thought, how am I going to pay these bills? How are we
Hmm.
going to make this happen? How am I going to keep my wife happy? Because um, she wanted bits and pieces,
Hmm.
and she wanted to live a lifestyle, and we were living way above our means at that stage. And we were just ticking it up. And every time someone would offer us a credit card, we'd take it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then it would become, so what was keeping you up at night, I guess, was around, well, how am I going to pay these credit cards? How am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to fund this lifestyle? Yeah.
Very true. And my wife would turn over and go to sleep because she didn't do a lot of our financial stuff. I did. And I would go, the mortgage is due in 2 days' time, and we have to pay this, and there's not enough money in the bank. How am I going to pay that?
Hmm.
And who was I going to take money off to or not pay? What bill was I not going to pay to actually make sure that I got the mortgage under control and kept that going?
Hmm.
So that's pretty desperate.
And it's a pretty common story, though, I have to say, like with the juggling aspect of things to make it work. And like you're saying, it's like, well, you'll pay that bill, but then you're going to sacrifice in another area, and then you get into this whole thing that literally can get out of control, right? It can really, if you can't pay the bills, that's one thing, but then it's all the stress and the worry and the sleepless nights that come with that sort of stuff. Because half the battleground's in your head, right? As to how you're actually going to achieve it.
Yeah, and you know what? You spend hours upon hours trying to think up solutions.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
you really do.
mm,
And like I said, it's the first night that we met with you guys was the best night of our lives. It actually
mm.
changed our lives horrendously.
Well, that's what warms my heart to hear that. That's awesome. I mean, and so what do you think's the like a key insight from the program that's helped you to change your mindset about debt? Well, like anything you can think of? What's one of the key things?
Yeah, so I guess the thing that probably changed my outlook or our outlook, because my wife and I, Lindley and I, looked at it, was understanding what your debt is. And I
Mm,
know that sounds a little bit silly to people, but if you've got five credit cards like we had,
mm,
and you've got a mortgage, and you've got food bills, and obviously all the normal general house bills that you pay, um, and you don't know where to start, and you give us a starting point. You go, right, when we started looking at exactly what we were spending was the starting point. And that's a key insight because once you can understand what you're actually spending, you can work out where you can make changes or where you need to actually stop and work with what you've got rather than going, and it also meant that we didn't get a sixth credit card because that was on offer.
mm,
And it was like, great, here's another 10K that you can play with. And I'm not going to tell you how long it's going to take you to pay that 10K, or they never tell you that. They just tell you, here's 10K, go away and
mm.
spend it, have fun.
Yeah.
Of course, you do for that short period of time. The euphoria, the fun is great. But what you guys did was, Malcolm, was you actually taught us that you've got to look at what you're actually doing, how much you're getting. So, how much income have I got coming into our household? How much are we? What's our outgoings? What's the long-term goal do we want to achieve? Do we want to see money in our bank at some stage? And what what are our dreams? Are we going to ever achieve our dreams? Because, like I said before, we're actually looking to go to the UK next year. We would
Mm.
never have looked to go to the UK. And now
Awesome.
we're going to the UK to see our kids because we've worked out where, there was a lot of frivolous spending.
So how's your outlook changed then? Like as far as where you're at when you started versus where you're at now. I mean, you're smiling. You seem pretty
I'm
happy.
smiling every day. I
Oh,
smile every
good.
day, Malcolm. It's not like, I go to bed at night now and in 10 minutes I'm asleep. I'm
Wow.
not, I'm not spending hours lying in bed going, how do I make this work? And, it was getting quite to the stage where I was getting quite anxious and
Mm,
very despairing. My outlook today is every day's a great day. I get
mm,
up, I, I've actually got money in my pocket. I know that sounds crazy too, but when you know that you've got money in your pocket so that if you need to go and buy something, you can. Not because you can spend it, but because if you need to buy something, you can go and buy it.
mm,
Um, and not have to worry about what's going to not get paid because you're buying morning tea
mm.
or doing something. I mean, it was really tight. Like some weeks we would not buy groceries.
Yeah, and it is a different outlook when you've got that stuff under control, and as big or little as it is sitting in your bank account, when you've got money in there in a positive format, the way you feel and address things certainly changes. Lots of people, oh, I don't need money, I don't do this. Well, it helps, it certainly helps to have some, but it's not everything, but it's the stuff you're just explaining which I think does mean everything is around because things like, not sleeping properly and stressed about stuff, I mean, that's a killer. It's no good for you. Like the long-term aspect of sitting in crisis results in all sorts of nasty things, eh? So amazing that you've actually made those changes and starting to see those wins. So
Oh, my blood pressure was through the roof. So I
mm,
went to the doctor just before we joined up with you. I went to the doctor on a visit and he said to me, "Did you drive here?" And I went, "Yes." And he said, "Well, you're not driving home." He said, "Your
wow.
blood pressure's through the roof." And I went, "I'm only around the corner." And he said, "I don't care. You're not driving home." I went to the doctor 2 weeks ago for a checkup. Blood pressure is perfectly normal for a person of my age.
Wow. How
And
good is
I'm
it?
stoked
Yeah.
because I was so stressed about our money worries. Like
Yeah.
I was stressed to the max. And, all my life I've made sure my wife's been happy and had what she would like. And now I can actually do that without actually stressing out.
And you know the thing
Yeah.
that you know the thing she wants the most, I'm sure,
Well,
is
it's me.
she wants you to be around, my friend. So I'm really happy that you've made some changes, and just such a cool story, from a positive perspective. And one I've heard a few times, because like I know it, and as blokes, we often will take things on and we soldier on, and and it can be a little bit of humble pie, when you go, hang on, no, I'm not getting this right, and being man enough to say that and go, look, let's actually do something different about this. Because if I don't, then there's lots of outcomes that you don't really want, but they're fast approaching without a bit of change. So, mm,
I'll tell you what, my father was a builder by trade,
mm,
right? So from the time, Malcolm, by the time I was 10, I could hold a hammer and build.
mm,
And for the last few years, I've not wanted to pick up a hammer or any tools.
mm.
Guess what? Our bathroom's being renovated, and guess who's doing it? Who's pulling the
Hey,
bathroom? Who's put the tools back? Put his
good
tool
on you.
belt back on, and I come home at night and I want to start something. I want to do something. I
Wow.
want to actually start a project because you know what? I can go out and buy the things that I need to put into that project. So I'm not doing part of a project and stopping. I'm now able to keep on going every night. I can do a little bit more of that project, and and I could pay someone to do it, but
Mm,
I get huge amount of joy out of doing it myself. But I can actually pay for everything I need. I had all the bits there before I started because I paid for them, and we weren't going to stressing out about how we were going to pay for them. We had the money.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
actually had the money. 12 months. 12
Mm,
months is amazing. 12 months is we've had so much change in 12 months.
Mm,
only because of all the stuff that you guys have been teaching us.
mm. That's so, I mean, and so I guess one final question for you there though. So if someone was considering working with me, what would your advice be? What would you tell them?
Do it in a heartbeat. I tell you what, do it in a heartbeat because two things, or a few things. One, you're a good Kiwi bloke. Two, you live in New Zealand. Three, you're accessible. And when I say accessible, often you pay money to do something like this and you never see the person who actually runs it. You see different people. And you know, what I love is the fact that Ginny gives me a follow up call every so often to see how I'm going.
Mm.
You know, so
Yep.
your company keeps in touch with us. It's not like I've got your money, see you later, or here's a whole lot of stuff. And, you know, and this, the sessions at night are great because you hear people who have got the same problems as you and you realize that you're not alone. You're not out
Mm,
there in the wilderness alone. I would tell people to join you straight away. It's the best money they will ever spend,
mm.
and it'll bring them a huge amount of peace of mind.
Well, thank you. And for everyone that was just wondering who Ginny is, she's our support manager at Kiwi Money School. So it's yeah, you know, and I've learned that too over the years, knowing that I can teach people something, but will you then go and do it? Will you implement it? And that's why I very much have taken the approach of let's have a wraparound service, you know, where we've got the coaching, where I walk alongside you, and I know there's some hard yards and sometimes we have difficult conversations together, but it's all from a place of love. We want you to do well and provide things that are going to help you stay on track as well. And so, you know, that's what this is all about. And look where you're at. Like it's just amazing. It's such a cool little story, Trevor. And I really appreciate you sharing with myself today and for the others that'll listen to this. So, you know, thank you for your time.
Oh no, I'll tell you what, everybody should know that you will give us all the tools that we need. And that's the key. Because we all have the ability to do it, we just don't have the tools.
Mm,
And it's like, you know, like I was saying about my dad being a builder, you know, you can learn all the skills you need, but if you don't have the tools, you can't do it.
mm,
And you've given us the tools, you know, like, I mean, some of the stuff that you talk about to us about, we actually already know.
mm,
Someone else has already sort of, but you've brought it all together in one package.
mm,
So you got someone over here telling you a little bit about revolving credit, someone here over here telling you about, you know, credit cards and someone else, but you brought the whole package together and you put it in a in a plain English way of learning, which is
mm,
great, you know, so people can understand. And that's the big kicker, is
mm,
people can hear it in plain English. And you know, as Kiwis, we're a plain bunch of people. We do things mostly honestly, and hey, it's cool. It's I'm so stoked. I trust you 100%, my friend.
mm. Oh, well, I don't take that lightly and I respect that and I think that's, you know, that's true. We need it in such a way where it doesn't need to be so complicated. That's the starting point I take is like actually we should be able to have this discussion over a Christmas barbecue and you can explain how it works and what you do and so forth. And you don't need an economics degree to work it out. But what you do need is a hand. You get taught things, stay on track, and then it's about reflection and see how amazing well you've done. And that's the thing. You probably wouldn't have thought you're going to be where you're at 12 months ago when you were, you know, absorbed with this sort of stuff versus where you are today, you
You're
know?
like
Yeah.
you're like a guide, a coach, and a friend all rolled into one.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
You are. You're like a guide, a coach, and a friend all rolled into one, my friend. Because
Well, thank you. Mm,
you just you do tell us in plain English, and
mm,
you're right. You're not scared to tell us you're doing it wrong.
mm,
Um, we are. You know, we need to be led sometimes,
mm.
and then we need to be walked beside sometimes, and then sometimes you let us walk in front.
Yep, absolutely. We learn from mistakes we make ourselves, but it's okay 'cause you can always come back and I'll give you a financial cuddle anyway. Put it that way.